YouTube, Voiceless Voices here is top tier. I know I'm a little late on this video. Actually, I'm a lot late on this video, but we're gonna discuss the deck. I'm gonna teach you how to play it. Right now we're at about 1570 in Master Duel rated duels, so we've gotten all the way back up. Yeah, let me go over how to play the deck, and yeah. All right. So as I always do, we're gonna go over the deck profile first. We're gonna go over this very fast. I'm not gonna really go over the tech cards in the deck because hand traps and call by are pretty much self-explanatory. Yeah, let's go over it. So first, your main starter of the deck is Low. So Low has a few different effects. It has 3 different effects. Basically, if you don't know what this deck does, it heavily involves ritual summoning. And yeah, it's a ritual summon based deck that wants to take more of a control play style. It's not really an aggro deck. It can get a little bit more aggro going second, but yeah, let's start going over this. So basically, Low has 3 different effects. First effect, if you were to ritual summon 1 light or dragon ritual monster, and that's the theme of this deck, you could use Low as the whole material. So you don't have to equal 7 or exceed it. You could just use Low as the whole material. Second effect, on summon, she can place any Voiceless Voice continuous spell or trap from your deck into your spell and trap zone. Now that cannot be ashed because that places. It does not, add from deck to hand. It places it, so it cannot be Ash Blossom. Third effect is if a Light Warrior Dragon ritual is special summon, does not need to be ritual summon, you can special summon Low from your graveyard to your field. Now, this is very important because when you have it on the field, it's going to be your Omni Negate for Skull Guardian, which we'll talk about in a second. Also, it can trigger its effects on your opponent's turn. So, for example, if you use something like Dynamundo, or you ritual summon with like Blessing of the Voiceless Voice to summon out your like Sarubis, your Skull Guardian, you're going to be able to get that effect to place maybe a Radiance in your spell and trap zone. That's kind of like your main combo. So next we have Diviner of the Herald. So basically this was the main starter for Drytron. If a lot of you remember, you would send Herald, search a Ben 10, and then go Alpha Tribute Ben 10, search Zeta. You get the whole idea there. But basically, Diviner here is going to send your Trias Hierarchia, and Trias Hierarchia is going to allow you to tribute your Diviner to summon out a Low out of the deck because it can summon a level 1 fairy. So this first effect of Diviner is it can send a fairy from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. And second effect is if this card is tributed, you could summon a level 1 fairy out of the deck. Well, level 2 or lower fairy. Well, what's a level 2 or lower fairy? Well, Low. Low is a level 1 fairy. So you're able to summon out your Low when you tribute your Diviner off of your Trias Hierarchia. That's the main use for it. Other uses are, we do play Herald of Arclight and Elder into the Incis. So when Incis is sent from the graveyard, being a fairy, you could target a card in the field and destroy it. So this is a great way to deal with floodgates, deal with your opponent's back row if you want to. Overall, just a really, really good card for the deck. Not needed. If you don't have it, the deck is completely playable without some of this in there. So like if you're making a new account, I'll go over what you can probably skip out on it first. I would just focus on getting the main core before you work in the extra deck, because this deck can work completely fine getting you to the lower ranks without having a significant extra deck. So you don't need like the big boomers yet in the extra deck until you get like into rated where some of these come up. But I would argue you can even get to Master 1 without even having the biggest extra deck in the world. So don't feel like you have to be pressured to get the extra deck immediately. Just focus on getting the main core. Okay, so that's basically what Diviner does. It can also, like I said, set Herald of Arclight to search out either your ritual spell or one of your ritual monsters from deck to hand. This is good if you already have a way to get Low on the field. You may want a Diviner to send Herald to get some extra advantage. Okay, next is Saphira. Now this card is not a one card starter by itself, but overall it's a really, really good card for the deck. So Saphira, Dragon of the Voiceless Voice, has a few effects. I mean Queen, not Dragon. Oh, Queen, yeah, Saphira, Dragon, Queen of the Voiceless Voice. Excuse me. So, first effect, you can discard this card to add 1 ritual spell. You can discard this card to send 1 ritual spell from your deck to the graveyard. And if you do, add 1 ritual monster from deck to hand, like Warrior Dragon Ritual, but that's all you're playing, so it's irrelevant. So basically, this can search out any ritual monster in your deck and send a ritual spell from deck to grave. Now, you may ask, why would you want to send a ritual spell to the graveyard? Well, we're going to talk about that. Now, keep in mind, this can set any ritual spells. If you wanted to play some, like, him a light or something like that, you could, to protect like your Voiceless voice from being destroyed. But it's not, I mean, any light monster from being destroyed, but that's irrelevant because you're going to be being well protected with your prayers to the Voiceless voice anyway. But keep in mind, this could send any ritual spell from deck to grave, so if you had some like crazy combo, you could do something with it. Second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, ritual summon one light ritual monster whose levels exceed or equal that monster by attributing monsters on field or hand. So again, this is really good because it's basically your ritual spell in the grave. You can banish it, summon out your Skull Guardian by attributing your low, and that's pretty much standardly what you do with Voiceless Voice. Now, the one thing I will bring out with Saphira that's very important is it's always good to have a second way to ritual summon, be it your blessing or your prayers, because sometimes you'll go up against decks like Centaurion and Branded that run Bestials, and they can Bestial this out of the graveyard, and then you have really no ritual play. So be careful. Always try to have a second way to ritual summon. It's always good to play around Bestials better. Alright. Second, now we're going to go on to the ritual monsters. After I talk about Trias Hierarchia, we'll go over this briefly. Basically, like I said before, you're going to tribute your Diviner with this. Basically, summon out your low from the deck. But again, this has a few other different applications. First of all, this can dodge Imperm at any moment because, again, you contribute in response. And since the target for Imperm will no longer be on the field, they will not be able to negate. So, for example, if you have a low on the field and they try to Imperm this or Diviner, then you can sack off that low or Diviner. That target's no longer on the field. Summon your Trias Hierarchia and then get your effect off. Now, the second part of Hierarchia, which is really, really good, I mean, not really, really good. It rarely comes up. The second part of Hierarchia is that if you destroy, if you tribute a certain amount of fairies, you get to do things in sequence. If you tribute 2 or more, you get to destroy a card your opponent controls, non-target. 3, you draw 2 cards. Now, I'm going to be real with you. This rarely ever resolves. I don't remember the last time I resolved the second and third effect. The first effect that you tribute to dodge, that resolves all the time. But the second and third effect don't ever really resolve. Now, another thing with Trias Hierarchia that's really good is that you can use it as full ritual material, being a level 9, so it can be easily summoning your Odd Eyes, Pendulum Grab Dragon, Saphira, Skull Guardian, or Saryuvis. So, either one, that's really, really good. You can abuse Trias Hierarchia that way. Now, going on further, we're going to talk about the ritual monsters now. Now, first we're going to go over Saryuvis. So, Saryuvis is really, really good because A, it's not a hard one to return, and B, the effect in hand is really good. That I like 3 of it because you're going to be able to secure your turn 1 better. So, first of all, the first effect is, also this card is insanely good against Tier Limit. If you've ever played against Tier, I'll explain it. I'm sure a lot of you know about Tier, so talk about this. You can ritual summon this using Sprite's Blessing. You're never doing that. You're just ritual summoning everything with Saphira or Prayers. Okay? Or your Blessing. Those are the 3 things that you need to focus on. First, in hand effect, when your opponent targets a monster you control with a card effect, you can discard this and negate that effect. So if your opponent wants to Imperm you, they want to Valor you, excuse me, then this will dodge Imperm and Valor. This is also really good, like I said, against Tier Limit, because if you go up against Tier Limit, the main traps that they use are Solic and Met Noise. Crime just won't stop. But the thing with Solic is that Solic is the main threat to you, and that they can generally send out their Kikalos by sending out their Kikalos to use Solic to negate your effect. However, they have to negate the effect in order to use Kikalos. In order to send off Kikalos. Because Tier Limit Solic says that negate the effect and then. So second action, the first action has to be performed first before we can get to the second action. So if you have your Saryuvis and you negate their Solic, they're not going to be able to send off Kikalos, and that's going to really be bad for them. They won't be able to get any of their effects off, and you will pretty much stop a key disruption against you. Same with Met Noise. Met Noise needs to book a Moon, a monster first, before you send a Tier to the grave to provoke a fusion summon. So again, Saryuvis is very, very good in a lot of niche situations. It's also very good to dodge SP Little Knight for when your barrier is down the field. We'll talk about that soon. But yeah, overall, really, really strong card. I recommend playing it at multiple. If you don't have 3, you can absolutely play 2. 2 is completely fine. If you want to play 1 to start off, that also works as well. Whatever number you feel with. Now, again, another ritual monster we're playing 3 of is Skull Guardian, Protector of the Voiceless Voice. Now, this card is absolutely incredible. It is an amazing boss monster for the archetype. And even though it says you can ritual summon this with prayers, which sometimes you might do, generally, like I said, you're bringing this out less with prayers, your ritual monsters, more with Saphira and blessings. So you can ritual summon this, blah, 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 blah. Gains 20-50 attack while you have low in the graveyard. So this is a reference to the old Skull Guardian. Now, what's really good about this is that this will be 4,100 attack on the field, which means that very little things can swing over this. And you're going to see how important that is later on. So on summon, this can search for any Voiceless Voice monster and add it to your hand. Or you can add 1 ritual monster, warrior, or dragon from deck to hand. So what's really good about this is this can search out a Sarubis if you want to use Blessing on the follow-up to be able to summon out your Sarubis and then make that indestructible. We'll talk about all of that once we get to continuous spells. But main effect on the field is while you control low, you can negate the activation or the effect of a card, spell, trap, or monster, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So that's really, really strong, having an Omni negate, obviously. But what you might say, hey, Sean, but if they swing over low, then you don't have an Omni negate anymore. And that's incorrect, and I'm going to teach you why that's not going to be a threat to you. Now, the other thing that you need to know is the boost will still apply if low is in the graveyard. So if you're ever in a position where you're like making SP Little Knight or you're trying to threaten lethal damage, keep in mind if the low is in the graveyard, you'll still keep the 4,100 attack. But not the Omni negate. In order to Omni negate, she has to be on the field. Third, we run Saphira, Dragon of the Voiceless Voice. Now, absolutely optional card. You don't have to play it. But basically, on Ritual Summon, you can draw 2 and discard a card like the original Saphira. Also, when this attack is declared involving this card, you can discard 1 card from your opponent's hand. And then third effect, during your opponent's end phase, you can add any light monster from grave to hand, including something like Effect Failure if you play it. So that's something else you could do, or Ghost Mourner. Not Ghost Mourner, Ghost Ogre. So, yeah, it's really cool stuff you can do with Saphira. Totally optional to play. She can be nice to draw into hand traps at times, but you can also play Odd Eyes Pendulum Grab Dragon, which is a spell negate, if you want to as well. So it's totally optional. You can play whatever you want. Next, we run pre-prep for rights. Basically, say it's 1 ritual spell and 1 ritual monster from deck to hand. Great Ash Bait, and it's also a +1, whose name specifically is listed on that card. You can add any of them. You can add Skull Guardian, you can add Sarubis and Saphira. Now, again, the good thing about pre-prep for rights as well is it can search Sarubis to protect you against Imperm. That's really, really good, as well as being Ash Blossom Bait. Pot of Prosperity is standard. We're going to go on to prayers. So this is your ritual spell. What you need to know is the first part is just like any generic ritual spell, so I'm not going to really read into that. But the second part is if your light dragon or warrior ritual monster would be removed from the field by a card effect, you could special summon 1 from the deck, ignoring the summoning condition. This is really good because if your opponent would like super poly off your Sarubis, say in Tearlament or Yubel, or your Skull Guardian, then you can just summon another one out of the deck, ain't no problem, and we don't care about super poly. So that's very, very good to dodge things like that, and to dodge removal on your Skull Guardian in general. Or if they were to like SP it or something, so really, really good. Okay, next we're going to go over your key Voiceless Voice spell and traps. The first one is Barrier. So while you control low and a light warrior or dragon ritual monster, now this is a light ritual monster, this is very important. So a low and a light ritual, your opponent cannot target any light monsters you control or card effects. And also, if they were to attack, they must attack a ritual monster first. So they must attack your ritual monster. So this is really, really good because this will protect your low. So if you have Skull Guardian with 4,100 attack, your opponent can't just say, hey, let's go to battle phase with a Castira, swing over the low, and then play around the Omni. Your opponent has to commit into the main phase to make their plays, which is very, very good. Also, they can't target it, so they can't imperm your Skull Guardian, so that's not a play for them. So it makes it very hard for them to just straight up deal with your Omni negate, and that becomes very, very good for you. Now, also, during your main phase, you can add 1 Voiceless Voice card or Skull Guardian ritual monster from your deck to your hand, and you can only use this effect once per turn. Now, this is very, very good because this allows you to search your other Voiceless Voice continuous spells and traps, Most of the time searching your blessing, but there are times where you can just directly search for radiance if you don't have a second way to ritual summon. So being able to search for blessing is very good once I go over it. So this is a search on activation. For every turn, this is not fire formation tanky that searches only on initial activation. Every turn, hard once per turn, you get that search, and then again gives you that protection from battle and light targeting from targeting effects. So very, very good. Mandatory 3 of them. Blessing of the Voiceless Voice is your other continuous spell. So this card allows you to do a few things. First of all, you can target any of your Voiceless Voice cards that are banished or in your graveyard, add it to your hand. This includes your spells and traps as well. Second effect, if a non-ritual monster is normal or special summon, you can ritual summon a light dragon or warrior monster by using monsters in your hand or on the field to tribute. This is great because this allows you to tribute your low on the field on your opponent's turn. It can also proc a ritual summon on your turn if you want to. And yeah, this allows you to summon Sarubus on your opponent's turn, so you have to use that Omni Negate. Or even before if you want to, then you contribute that low, summon out your Skull Guardian, and then low summons itself to the field, procs the effect to play Radiance, which is really, really good. Also, that ritual summon monster cannot be destroyed in battle. So very, very important that that you understand that monster will not be able to be destroyed in battle. Yeah, so really, really, really good stuff there. So highly recommend this card. You definitely want to play it in the deck. It's just fantastic, and you can only use each effect once per turn. Now, the third card and the final card we need to talk about in Archetypo is Radiance of the Voiceless Voice. Now, this is a trap card that does a lot of different things, and it's very, very good. First effect, you can only use one of these effects per turn during the main phase only. Shuffle one light ritual warrior dragon from your graveyard or hand into your deck, or ritual spell to add or special summon one Voiceless Voice monster from your deck. That cannot be a ritual monster, just keep that in mind. Second effect, you can target cards on the field equal to the amount of light dragon or warrior ritual monsters you have in the field. Destroy them. So again, this is really, really good. Your opponent controls, I should say, to remove cards off the field. So like if they activate Nightmare Pain, you can blow up their Nightmare Pain in response to them activating the effect so they can't use it again. This can blow up, Fire King Sanctuary. There's a lot of good targets for this. Also, what's really good about Radiance is that, again, if you run Old Man, which I don't, you can opt to summon Old Man on your opponent's turn. Then bounce Old Man back, summon Sargibus. So that's a play that you can do as well. Now, the extra deck. I did say we're going to go over the extra deck. Also, if you choose the pop effect, it destroys Radiance, but you can add it back with Blessing on the following turn, so don't fret. Now, the extra deck is not as important the lower ranks should go through. So if you're saying, hey, I'm going to make this on a new account, well, that's great. You don't have to worry about, getting these key extra cards early on. Okay? So, but Dynamundo, you should absolutely get early on because this is an SR. Any of the SRs you can absolutely grab because you'll have plenty of SR crap material to make this deck. Now, going on to the extra deck, we run one Intis, one Herald of Arclight, one Chaos Angel because you can make this with low and your Trees Hierarchia. So this is very easy to summon out. One copy of Typhon. Typhon is just good in general. For removal threats, easy to summon. One Linkaribo. Linkaribo is good with low because you can link it off into Secure Garden and do some combos with that. Mirage is also good because, again, once you link out that low and then summon out your Secure Gardener, then you're able to basically ritual summon with Blessing on your turn. So, like, you can link off low into Almirage, then the Skull Guardian, and then once you go, not the Skull Guardian, into your Secure Gardener, and then trigger your Blessing to tribute, a low, and then ritual summon again. So really, really, really good for a Blessing. Next, we run IP Masquerena. This is good if you have extra fodder. You can make SP on your opponent's turn, or Dynamundo. One liner just to revive from our opponent's grave. 2 Dynamundo, 1 SP. Celine is good with Lina because Lina's a spellcaster. So you can, revive back liner from the graveyard after you make your Celine, and then make your Access Code Talker, and then on Underworld just to out some crazy things. Okay, now I'm gonna go over a few combos for you, and then let's go into solo, and I'll go over a few combos for you. Okay, well, actually, I don't want to go over this because I want to kind of show you the main lines. Alright, I'm going to try to dig for low here. Ignore the Pot of Prosperity. This is me just trying to find low or diviner to show you a one-card combo. Okay, so this is a one-card diviner combo. So I'm going to write this down. If you open up diviner by itself, this is what you're going to do. You're going to normal summon diviner, activate the effect to send Trias Hierarchia from deck to grave. Then we're going to use Trias' effect. Because we contribute that fairy monster, we're going to go ahead and tribute our diviner. Summon out the Hierarchia. And then diviner effect is going to summon out low. Low then activates her effect to place a voiceless voice spell or trap in your spell and trap zone. We're going to go ahead and place barrier. Then barrier is going to activate to search Saphira. This is off one card. Do not pay attention to prep for rights in hand or anything like that. Then Saphira activates to send our ritual spell or prayers to the graveyard to search our Skull Guardian. Then we're going to activate our Saphira effect in grave to summon out Skull Guardian by tributing low. Now, chain blocking here is very important. At this point of a combo, or any point, you're going to know if your opponent has Ash or not. So at that point, it's very important to recognize this because now we can play around Ghost Spell. Now, Ghost Spell would normally negate the effect of a card that activates in the graveyard. So, hence your low would be stopped. However, if we chain block it and make low if we make low not respondable to right away, then we can prevent Ghost Spell from triggering. Because Ghost Spell has to activate in direct response to whatever it's negating. And since it's not activating in direct response to low, we chain block it with Skull Guardian. Now, Skull Guardian here can search us either follow-up. We don't really have a way in the one-card line to summon Sarubis on the opponent's turn. So we could just search for follow-up, unless we really want to go for greedy for Dynamundo. If you want to, I shouldn't say that you don't have a way. You just play it into Call by the Grave more this way. So we can search that. We can resummon low. And then if you want to, you can link these two off into Dynamundo. And then with Dynamundo, you can, on your opponent's turn, summon back the Skull Guardian and the low. Then low can play Blessings. And then Blessing gets summoned Sarubis out. Or if you want to search for follow-up, say another low, you can instead, with the Dynamundo, place the Radiance in your spawn trap zone to set up a pop on your opponent's turn. And then gain follow-up like a low, and just in case they were out the board. This is a one-card combo. Okay? Now, again, this is not taking into account Valor and Impermanent. If we have Valor and Imperm, we may choose not to make Dynamundo because we just don't want to lose the Call by the Grave. Now, think a bit. And what I mean think a bit is that if our opponent has activated no hand traps, you might want to think about them having Call by in hand because that's a realistic possibility given the fact that they haven't resolved the hand trap. And Call by is at 2. So keep in mind that you can lose to a Call by. Also keep in mind Bystials are a thing as well. So keep in mind that Bystials can also banish the low and ruin your combo. But that is a 1-card Diviner line. This is a brick. Alright, I already showed this off. Okay, can I have a hand where I open up low? That would be lovely. Okay. This is low, a 1-card low combo. So this is low by itself. So what you're going to do is if you open up low by itself, you're going to summon low. It's very similar to the Diviner combo. We're going to play our barrier. And then... Oh, give me a second. We're going to activate barrier. Barrier is going to search out the Saphira. It's pretty much the exact same combo, but I'm going to go over it. We're going to send them this. Our ritual spell. Search the Skull Guardian. Saphira effect. Summon the low. Should be the Skull Guardian. I mean, the other way around. Summon the Skull Guardian should be the low. Excuse me. Then we're going to chain block Ghost Spell because at this point we know that they have an Astronaut. Now, in the random case they haven't used Ash, you can absolutely do it the other way and chain block the Ash. Here, we'll just take a follow-up. Then we'll summon back the low. And then, with the 1-card combo, you make Dynamundo. And then we set up the 2 disruptions. So we get back our Radiance or our Blessing on the follow-up. And then we have access to summon out the Sarubis if need be. If we want to go for a Blessing. Or if we want to go for a Radiance, then we can do that as well. So we have a bunch of options to basically do whatever we feel we need to do. So again, very similar to the very similar to the 2-card line, the 1-card Diviner line. It's pretty much exactly the same. Okay, now I'm going to show you a 2-card line. Okay. Now, if you open up, we're going to pretend that we just opened up the Skull Guardian by itself. If you open up low and Skull Guardian, this is what you're going to do. So you have both low and Skull Guardian in your hand. Pay attention to this. Going to normal summon low. Low is going to trigger the effect. We're going to get barrier. Now with barrier, we can pick up Blessing. Now pay very close attention to what is happening. Okay, this is very important that you understand what's going on here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to activate Blessing. And then we're going to link low off into Linkuriboh. This is where Linkuriboh comes up. Next, we're going to activate Blessing and we're going to add back the low. And then we're going to link off the Linkuriboh into Secure Gardener. Now, next we're going to use Blessing's effect to Ritual Summon. Remember when I said Secure Gardener is mainly used for Blessing. So in a 2-card combo where we open up Skull Guardian, we can then be able to search our Blessing, because once we link the low, once we add the low back with Blessing, and we link off into Secure Gardener, since a non-ritual monster was summoned, we can now trigger the Blessing. And we can ritual summon using the whole material flow out of our hand. So we're going to go ahead and summon Skull Guardian. Now again, if you haven't seen an Ash, you could do it the other way as well. You can make Skull Guardian Chain Link 1, low Chain Link 2. But assuming we've seen an Ash already, we're going to make low Chain Link 1 to dodge a Ghost Spell. Now at this point, we're going to search Saphira. Then we're going to summon back our low. And then we're going to activate Saphira's effect to add our Saryuvis. Or if you want to, you can even go for Saphira and draw into more hand traps. However, I don't want to do that because I've already summoned low back from the graveyard. So to do that, it gets rid of our Omni. And then we can't link off Secure Gardna. So it's probably not a good idea to do that. So we're just going to add, unless we have another ritual in hand. If we have another ritual in hand at the time, don't pay attention to this ritual spell. This is like if you open up Skull Guardian. If you open up Pre-Prep for Rites, this also works. So keep that in mind. If you open up Pre-Prep for Rites, you can also do this combo. But this 2-card combo ends on 3 disruptions. How? Because we have our Omni Negate with Skull Guardian. Next turn, we can use Blessing to summon out Saryuvis. And then Saryuvis can then bring back the low to get our Radiance into play. Now, keep in mind, if you run Old Man, Saryuvis is not a hard one to return. So if you run Old Man in the deck, you can even activate Radiance if you want. Get summon out Old Man, and then Old Man summon a second Saryuvis. So if you want, I didn't talk about Saryuvis' effect on the field. I think I kind of went over that. I think I kind of missed it, but I'm going to go over it really quickly. Basically, when your opponent would special summon a monster, inherent summon, so not by effect, so not by like OSS, Monster Reborn, any like Exceed, Link, Synchro Summon, something like that, or BLS, Envoy, or something crazy like that, you can negate the summon, and if you do, banish it. So this is really good against like Promethean Fire Princess, or Snake Eye, or if they go into like an SP Little Knight, you can banish it, Chaos Angel, things like that. This is really, really good against. So again, like if you think your opponent's like on a heavy Link summon strategy, or they want to summon from the extra deck a lot, rather than, you know, or Phantom of Yubel, this also deals with, rather than, you know, make a pop, you may choose to go for double Saryuvis if you're on Old Man. We're not running Old Man in this build, but if you want to go for double Saryuvis, you absolutely can. So you can like Ritual Summon Saryuvis, not have it be destroyed in battle with the Blessing, and then use the Radiance on your opponent's turn, special summon out the Old Man, then bounce back Old Man into another Saryuvis, and then you have 2 ways to deal with special summon monsters. Which is good against Snake Eye Fire King, because a lot of builds now are playing 2 Promethean Fire Princess. So having an answer to potentially 2 Prometheans is a good way to doing it. So yeah, really, really good 2-card combo with low. Very, very good stuff. That's your main 2-card combo there. Again, you can also do this with Diviner. If you have Diviner as well, you would just summon low out of the deck, link the low off into Link Haribo, and then into Secure Garden, and do the exact same combo. If you want to. Alright. I want to show you one other thing you can do with Diviner, and that's what we'll cover. Now, if the game will let me draw a Diviner, that would be beautiful. This is currently one of my favorite decks to play in Master Duel. That is what we call Brick Children. That is exactly what we call a brick. Alright. I'm going to find Diviner, and I'm going to be able to do things. Trust. Show me Diviner. There we go. Alright. So this is an alternative combo you can do. You can also do the first combo that I suggested if you open up Diviner. So again, the Trias. Trias Summon. Summon the low. Okay. So now we can link off and Karibo. Now at this state, nope. Now you could trigger the ritual summon now. So like if you wanted to, you could ritual summon now. That's a play you could also make, but I'd rather do it this way. So like when you open up Diviner, you're gonna have Trias on the field. So if you wanted to ritual summon early, you can. So that's a play that, you know, if you wanted to make it, you could. Now I think I banished IP Masquerena from the deck. What I wanted to show you here is that you can make like IP Masquerena here and then go for low. So like a play which you could do in this spot is like we can link off. I banished it from the deck like a nincompoop. But what you could do is for the science we will pretend that this is IP Masquerena. For the science. Well, pretend tree or something like that. Okay, this has already gone south for the winter, but you get what I mean. So we're going to tribute the low that's in hand. Pretend this is not even here. And that's an IP. We can go Skull Guardian. And we can add Saphira. Summon the low. Now what's really cool that you could do with this, let's say this is IP, right? So what you could do is then on our opponent's turn, we'll still have this low on the field that can be attributed as material. So what we can do with Diviner in this case is that, let's say this is an IP. Our opponent goes and we negate with Skull Guardian. Then, actually let me add the ritual spell first. Then what we can do is we can ritual summon out Saryuvis by attributing the low. And then we can bring back that low from the graveyard on our opponent's turn, get our Radiance into play, and then we can link off Skull Guardian with IP Masquerena, and then we can make our Dynamundo to shuffle another card back in the deck. Or make like an SP Little Knight because we're using IP Masquerena. And that's another 2 disruptions. So again, it's just another thing you can do. Again, with Saryuvis on the field, a nice thing about it is Saryuvis will protect your SP Little Knight. So since you have a low and a light ritual on the field, they won't be able to attack SP Little Knight. And since Saryuvis is going to be summoned out with by Blessing, it won't be able to be destroyed in battle that turn. So keep that in mind. So that's another thing you can do with Diviner. You have options to go into IP Masquerena, and you can do a bunch of different things like that, while also not playing excessively hard into Called by the Grave. So again, the 2-card combos give you a lot more freedom to do things than the 1-card combos. Now obviously, you got to take into account Ash Blossom, so these are things you're going to think about. Again, like I said, if I had the choice, would I search the 2-card combos over the 1-card combos? I would be going for hand trap protection more. I would opt for the more controlling route, rather than to go for, alright, let's go spam heavy combo, go boom, 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 you know, first. So again, that's another reason why I like to run 3 Saryuvis, because running 3 Saryuvis gives me that option to, I open it, then I can say, okay, now that I run 3 Saryuvis, I have the option to go for the 2-card line and not lose to any hand traps as well. So that's something you want to take into account, and that's an easy way that you're going to be able to win a lot of the games that you are playing with Voiceless Ways. Okay, so that's the combos. Those are the combos. Again, just to give you a rundown, again, pretending that that's an IP Masquerena because, you know, I wanted to show it off, but we ended up banishing it with Prosperity. So, oh, also another thing you want to keep in mind is that, let's say you're using something like Prosperity. Don't summon Saphira because you can't draw by card effect the same turn you use Prosperity. Alright, now, I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you a replay. I'm going to show you some replays here. Now, hopefully, Sean wasn't Big Dodo and saved some of the replays. Okay, I think Sean was Big Dodo. This is Festival. Alright. Let me see if I can get some replays saved for you. Because I have no idea what those are. I'd rather just save some of them that were rated and I can show you them. I don't want to keep these because that one I know. That one I can show you. But a lot of these, I don't know if these are like voiceless replays or not. And it's like, going to drive me up the wall if I don't. So, Very easy way to mitigate that. We just go into rated. You can see we're almost about 1570. We're 1569. Go to match history. I should be able to save these. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you guys what I'm doing. I'm not going to sit here and play a bunch of music while while you just watch the replays. I'm going to explain the mindset, what's going on, so you see kind of like the mindset of what high-rated duels are. And why is my overlay like cockeye? Oh my gosh, that's gonna drive me nuts. Okay, here we go. Alright, so you can see our hand. Right away, I want you to look at this hand. Alright, so right away, you see Saphira double Saryubis. So what are you thinking about? Well, unfortunately, this hand does hard lose to Ash Blossom, so if he ashes our Saryubis, we're only going to be able to end on Saryubis Pass. I shouldn't say hard loses. You'd still have like 3 disruptions with a Maxi, an Imperm, and a Saryubis to potentially threaten your opponent through them Ash Blossoming you. However, this hand does go right through Imperm, because if we summon out our Skull Guardian, then our Skull Guardian, we can use Saryubis to protect our Skull Guardian from an Imperm, and you're going to see that right here. So this is something I want you to understand through this replay. So we're going to send our Ritual Spell, Searching the Skull Guardian, and then our Ritual Spell, Tributing a 7/4/7, so that equals the level. We're going to summon out Skull Guardian. Now you're going to see right away, there's Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence targets our monster, attempts to negate its effects, but we have Saryubis. Now we could go ahead and search our low. He just decides to scoop. We have our Omni negate at that point, and if we want to, we can go into Dynamundo and set up potentially 4 disruptions there with an Omni negate. And yeah, very, very good. Now, did those other replays save? Oh my god. You're killing me, Smalls! Or does it not save? Does it allow me to save it when I don't do that? I guess it does. I guess it will save it when you don't have room. That's weird to me. Okay, whatever. Alright, here we go. Whee! Alright. More Voiceless Gaming. Okay, so this is against tier limit. Alright, so he's going to discard his Happy to summon Sharon. Then he's going to Exceed Summon into Time Thief Redoer. So if you don't know tier limit, Redoer is like one of the only Exceeds that send by card effect. So since it detaches by card effect, it triggers your tier limit, so that's why they play it. So he's going to detach his Sharon. So Sharon triggers, fuses off in the graveyard to make Kikalos. Kikalos activates. We're going to imperm that. Also, cool note, if you ever play against tier limit and whatever you're playing, always imperm the Kikalos. That's your best imperm all the time. So, Grievous is going to summon Sharon. Sharon's going to send off Kikalos. Kikalos will mill for 5. Then he has an amazing mill, triggers Trippy Karma, which can search Paralino, or any of his tier spell or traps. So he's going to go ahead and pick up Paralino. Then he can activate Havness. Havness fuses in the graveyard with Sharon to make Kaleido Heart. Because he's going to do this because he can make Rook on the opponent's turn by sending off Kaleido to trigger another fusion. Searches tier Kashtira. Special summons itself by banishing Grief. Activates Kashtira, mills another 3, hits the Snow and the Scream. So Scream picks up Solic. Then he links these 2 off into Cross Sheep. Activates Snow's effect, banishes for 7. Then summons back the Snow. Snow triggers Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep brings back the Revolution Synchron. Synchros both off into Ancient Fairy Dragon. AFD pops the Paralino to add Walls of the Imperial Tomb, which can summon out his Horuses. Triggers Revolution Synchron, so that way he can make Lisa Samatara. Amatara triggers to search Met Noise. So then he could set 2 Met Noise, pop Kaleido Heart, trigger Kaleido Heart's effect to summon itself, and then he could send any tier card from deck to grave. So he could search Crime and then add Tier Cashier up for an extra follow-up. Alright, so now he gets Redoer back. Redoer attaches a monster, so that really does nothing for him. We're going to start the turn off with pre-prep for rights. This is when I ran Old Man in the deck, so just bear with me. He summons out Tier Kashira, banishing Crime. Then he gets to mill another 3. So we're going to search Prayers and Skull Guardian. So he mills top 3. Activates Pot of P. Banishes, we banish 6. Because we need to go digging. So here I choose to pick up Diviner. I mean Saphira, because I really didn't need Diviner because I could search low at Barrier. So that's why I did that. I want to prioritize having that Saryuvis protection. Now remember what I said before, against Soliak, we want that Saryuvis. Because Saryuvis can protect us from being targeted. Also having Skull Guardian with low with Barrier can as well, but it's easier to do it with Saryuvis because they may disrupt you before then. And we could prevent them from just sending Kit Cal off with it to begin with, or Kaleido. Alright, so he's going to activate Book of Moon, essentially. And then he gets to trigger a Fusion Summon by sending Sharon to the graveyard. Then we place our Blessings in our Spell and Trap Zone. Triggers Kaleido to shuffle the Blessings. Then he's going to trigger Sharon, chain blocking the Kaleido art, to summon out his Rukulos. So that's 2 disruptions, Kaleido Heart already spinning. And that Met Noise, so that's technically 3 disruptions. So Fairy Tale Snow will be the 4th disruption. I'm going to show you how much we play through. He gets to summon out Fairy Tale Snow here. Then our prayers will play right around Rukulos. This is very important because then we can play through a summon negate. We don't want to only have Saphira as our only negate because otherwise if Rukulos negates Saphira and that's all we have, then our turn is over. So we don't really want to be in that spot. We end up not saving it for Soliak. We end up using it now. So that way he doesn't flip down our Skull Guardian and take away our Omni. He will anyway because Soliak will do that, but at least now we force the Soliak on the field. Now Low comes back. We've already placed the 1 in our Spell and Trap Zone, so that's kind of useless. Now we get to extend out with Old Man and threaten Battle Phase. We're going to Old Man swing over the Redoer, then Skull Guardian clear the Cross Sheet. We only deal half damage here. But now, since we used the Ritual Monster and a non-ritual, we can make Dynamundo. Dynamundo will shuffle in the Voiceless, Rukulos. Now, very important I talk about this because I didn't go over Dynamundo's effect. For those who don't know, unless you play Rituals, you probably have no idea what this card does. So basically, it has 2 different effects. First effect, the Dynamundo can target a Ritual Monster in the graveyard, shuffle it into our deck, and then allow us to spin any card in their field back into their deck. Second effect, during the opponent's turn, you can target it and special summon a Ritual Monster from your graveyard. Now again, special summon triggers the low, so that's very important. So even if we special summon it back from the graveyard, we still get to trigger the low effect anyway, which allows us to summon it to the field. So that's very, very good. Now he activates Fairy Tale Snow. He will be able to summon out his Fairy Tale Snow, flipping down to Typhon. So we did threaten Typhon, trying to out the Kaleido art, but he did not submit to it. Anyway, we activate our effect to bring it back. Our Skull Guardian, our low. He does Talk Deck Heartbeat to shuffle in our Radiance. However, Dynamundo will get Skull Guardian on the field. And then, since Skull Guardian was summoned, we get to bring back low. He is going to negate with Soliak, but we're going to force the Soliak now, because otherwise we have an Omni on the field. So low will get placed. Low triggers right when it hits the field. So we are able to get back our Radiance that he spun back off Kaleido Heart. Now Kaleido Heart hits the field. And Kaleido Heart will attempt to spin any card on the field into the deck on summon. Now keep in mind he did that in the draw phase, so we can't use Radiance, because Radiance has to be used in the main phase. So for anyone asking, Sean, why did you activate Radiance? Now you know why. Now we end up top decking Saphira, so we have a lot of follow-up, including Blessing and Saphira, Barrier and Saphira, so he's going to get out resource, he scoops, GG. We played through like 6 disruptions there. Soliak, Met Noise, Kaleido Heart was a disruption, Fairy Tale Snow was a disruption, Rukulos was a disruption, and technically he had two bounces with Fairy Tale Snow, so he had about 6 disruptions in play at that time. Alright. Now let me see if I can delete some of these replays so I can get one more in for you. I can load up one replay, but I have no idea what this is. So, if this is not a voiceless replay, bear with me, okay? I don't know what this is. This is like 2 weeks ago replay. Back when I hit Master 1. Okay! Hooray! It is voiceless. Okay. Alright, so he just sets passes here. Again, the first thing I want to do... Now, I want to bring up an important note. You may look at this and say, oh, whoop-de-doo, set pass. Okay, but the important note that I want to bring up here is that's probably... We have to assume imperm or call by. So anytime we see a set card, this isn't Duel Links. We're not trying to read backroad delays as much. We're just going to assume imperm or call by. Because that's really the only thing you're setting, unless you're setting some like inarchetypal whatever. Or super poly. That we can assume as well. So he does Ash the pot of P, which is fine, because we have a lot of things in hand. So we just bait the Ash with the pot of P, because we have so much extension. So we're going to activate Saphira, again, sending the Ritual spell, search the Zero Uvis. We're going to normal summon the Low. Low is going to place the barrier, but we're going to get imperm. Now again, like I said, what does Star Uvis do in the hand? We read the imperm, so we always made sure we had that Star Uvis in hand. Like I said, read the imperm, make sure you have the Star Uvis in hand to counter the imperm. And then he just scoops. So again, the main thing I wanted to show you there is we calculated Ash and imperm. How did we do that? Well, we led pot of P first, knowing we had a ton of extension, and then we thought about it and we said, okay, what's the best way to play around Ash and imperm? So since we had a ton of extension, we led pot of P first, bait the Ash. 6 is kind of juicy, so it baited the Ash. Then we led the Saphira, making sure we had the Star Uvis in hand. Then to summon the Low, so that way we play around the imperm. Now, another cool thing you can do is, let's say you have Low in the hand. So if you have Low in the hand, you also play around imperm that way without having Star Uvis, because you could summon out Low from the graveyard. So if your opponent, if you want to ritual summon Low, you can ritual summon it out of the hand. Then they can't prevent you from ritual summoning with Low, and they have to imperm the Skull Guardian, because otherwise you'll have an Omni negate for their imperm when Low hits the field. Or if you end up having barrier on the field preemptively, then they definitely have to imperm the Skull Guardian, because they can have barrier to protect. So again, these are two situations that you have to keep in mind. Alright, so this has been almost an hour long. I'm going to stop here. This is the video on Voiceless Voice. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more gameplay, next month we're going to be doing it again. Prepping for potentially future Master Duel Cup climb. I'm going to be teaching you everything about Voiceless Voice. So, yeah. Until next time, this is your boy, Sean Matrai, signing out. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube video if you enjoyed it. And yeah. Bye, YouTube. Love you all.